Friends, the Department of Justice has released a whole list of unredacted names from the Epstein files. What the department did not do is give you the context for the names. In this video, I want to show you the context and the connections to Epstein. I'm going to go through some of the prominent names mentioned. Now, you already know about Bill Gates, Elon Musk. I'm not going to talk about those. I'm going to focus on the ones others aren't talking about. Now, all these individuals have one thing in common. So as I go through, let me know if you figure it out. I'm going to start with Jared Kushner. Now, in 2013, while he owned the New York Observer, Kushner invited Jeffrey Epstein to the paper's 25th anniversary gala. And this invitation was sent 4 years after his conviction back in 2008. Now, here's an email from Peggy Siegel. Peggy Siegel, she's going to be mentioned quite a bit in this video. She's a publicist, but for me, she was Epstein's spy in the media Hollywood world. Now, in this email, there's some lunch that's happening, but she says that she's been named as one of the 150 most powerful people in New York, and she ends by saying, "Thank God I am friendly with Jared Kushner." But this is where it gets a bit murkier. You see, Kushner himself has a long-standing relationship with Bibi Netanyahu. Netanyahu reportedly stayed at the Kushner family home in New Jersey. He even slept in Kushner's bed whenever he visited the US. Huh? And of course, Epstein has many Israeli links, and Kushner is the one that brokered the Abraham Accords. Can you now connect the dots? The Abraham Accords were a deal that would see the Arab abandonment of the Palestinian cause. But how did he do it? Well, Netanyahu wanted Mohammed bin Salman to normalize relations. And MBS says, "Sure, I'll normalize with you, but you have the keys to the White House," because of course Israel controls America. And MBS said to Bibi, "Why don't you get America to give me weapons, help me militarily, and in return, I'll normalize." What does Bibi do? He goes straight to Jared Kushner. You see how there's a direct line into the White House, and it seems like this was planned years ago, maybe from that initial Epstein meet. Don't believe me? MBS even paid Kushner $2 billion. You see how sketchy this all sounds? But let's move on to other names. Now, former CIA Director John Brennan and Kathy Rumler. John Brennan was part of the torture program under the CIA, and Kathy was a lawyer for Goldman Sachs. Now, she met with Epstein between 2014 and 2019. In between this time, Brennan gave Kathy the CIA SEAL Medal. This is an award to non-agency personnel who've made some kind of contribution to the CIA. It's just another way to put your tongue up someone's ass. But here's an email confirming lunch between Epstein, Brennan, and Kathy. In fact, 2 days ago, now that Kathy's name has been put out in the public, she resigned from her position at Goldman. Kathy, in fact, called Epstein "Wonderful Jeffrey," "Sweetie," and "Uncle Jeffrey." She even wrote, "I adore him" in an email exchange. Why is the CIA director giving a medal to this woman who's obviously going around the world doing Epstein's bidding, who just happens to be the lawyer of Goldman Sachs? Now, George Clooney is mentioned but in passing, mainly by again Epstein's spy, Peggy Siegel. There's correspondence of potentially trying to arrange something with Clooney. In fact, there's also Peter Mandelson asking for Clooney too. In this email, what the hell did he mean? Speaking of Peter Mandelson, now, Tony Blair met Jeffrey Epstein in Downing Street while he was Prime Minister after a recommendation by Peter Mandelson. Epstein visited Blair on May the 14th, 2002. At the time of the recommendation, Mandelson was a backbench Labour MP but still served as a trusted ally to Blair. Apparently, it was a short discussion, but why is Epstein even allowed in Downing Street back then anyway? Furthermore, you all heard of the revelations of Peter Mandelson in the past few weeks. This goes back to 2002. Back then, he was an operative for Epstein. Furthermore, there is this email that indicates Blair had dinner with Epstein in 2011. We move on to William Barr. William was Attorney General under Bush 1 and under Trump. We now move on to Bono. Here's an email from Peggy Siegel. She refers to herself as a yacht slut, but the details are going to blow your mind. So it seems like she's going from yacht to yacht during this event. There's one yacht called Lady Joy. She then went to Audacia. Then she went to Roman Abramovich's yacht. For those that don't know, Roman Abramovich is a Russian oligarch famous for owning Chelsea Football Club. But Peggy claims she had dinner with Roman, Dasha, Gayasari, Pigozzi, Ali, and Bono. I don't think Bono is directly implicated, but his name is in this DOJ list. Was she spying on him as well? What would Epstein want with Bono? Am I missing something? Here is an email from the Prime Minister of Norway asking Epstein if he's going to be in Paris with Bill Gates and Bono. And now we go on to Reid Hoffman. Reid is the founder of LinkedIn. Here's emails between the two. They're discussing Bitcoin back in 2014. Here is correspondence in 2016. Epstein is willing to host Reid on his island. But the whole exchange just sounds weird and sketchy. I miss talking to you. I miss seeing you. Ew. In fact, this image, this says it all really. Now let's take a look at Mick Jagger. Mick Jagger, famous for singing the song Sympathy for the Devil, and I personally believe Epstein was Satan incarnate, or at least one of his minions anyway. This is Jeffrey setting up an invite for Mick Jagger, who is happy to go. But with Mick, there's actually loads of images showing him with Epstein and friends on multiple occasions. Now I want to discuss Steve Bannon. Steve maintained a close personal and professional relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. In 2019, Bannon proposed producing a documentary to rebuild Epstein's image. Why would you want to rebuild his image? You're supposed to be a populist. Epstein are the type of people you want to put away. There's correspondence where they strategized against Pope Francis and boasted connections like Nigel Farage. Why the hell is Nigel Farage a flex? Here's an email between Bannon and Epstein joking of being a pedophile. Again, why is he trying to rebuild the image of a dirty bugger? This is the same Steve Bannon who joined Trump's campaign in 2016. He was the architect of the Muslim ban in 2017. He kept telling you all immigration is a problem. Put away the criminals. They're criminals coming here. Don't let them come here. And here he is trying to fix the image of a predator. Bannon spent his entire career manipulating Europe into thinking there's a refugee threat, when the Europeans are the very people who bombed these countries in the first place, forcing these people to flee. It's just scandalous. We move on to Mehmet Oz, mainly an American TV personality. And just for your own trivia, Mehmet is the Turkish version of the name Mohammed. But Mehmet Oz was not religious at all. He is a TV host. He was a health expert on Oprah. He even had the Dr. Oz show. He ran for Senate in 2022. Now, in relation to Epstein, in February 2016, 8 years after Epstein's conviction, Oz and his wife emailed Epstein an invitation to their Valentine's Day party at their Palm Beach home. Here's another email inviting Jeffrey to an event with Mehmet Oz. It just gets more and more bizarre. Just look at this one. There's an email from Ghislaine Maxwell. Now, this goes back to 2002. This was an AIDS awareness trip to Africa. But look at the names mentioned. Kevin Spacey, Chris Tucker, the Clintons. What's more bizarre is this email is sent by David Slade. Now, I don't know if this is the David Slade I think it is, but he directed Breaking Bad and Black Mirror. What's he doing on a plane with Maxwell going to Africa? In fact, many of these individuals flew on Epstein's Boeing 727, dubbed the Lolita Express. A lot of them went around the world with Epstein for humanitarian stops across continents. Kevin Spacey has stated he met Epstein only on that trip, and he never visited Epstein's island ever. Really? Now we move on to Howard Lutnick. Lutnick is today the United States Secretary of Commerce. Now, him and Epstein were neighbors in New York. Lutnick once described him going into Epstein's house and he saw like a massage table and there were disturbing images and items around it. Him and his wife were put off, so they decided to avoid him. That's what he claims. However, after Epstein's 2008 conviction, Lutnick organized a 2012 family visit to Epstein's Little St. James Island for lunch. Who goes to an island for lunch? Of course, this contradicts his earlier statement that him and his wife stayed away. They also shared a 2013 business investment in an ad tech firm, and Epstein donated $50,000 to a 2017 Lutnick honoring dinner. What do you think Lutnick was up to, eh? As for Chuck Schumer, well, He received about $22,000 in total contributions from Epstein. 22,000 in today's world doesn't seem like a lot for campaign money, but this was back in 1992 and 1998, including 7 $1,000 personal checks and larger sums to joint fundraising entities supporting his Senate run. Schumer's team noted these old accounts were closed decades ago and pledged equivalent donations to anti-trafficking charities. Wow, did Epstein fund Schumer's career from the start? What do you think? Now, do you guys remember this dirty bugger, Larry Nassar? Well, in 2019, just before Epstein died, he mailed a letter from his correctional center. He sent it to Larry Nassar's prison. Of course, to Larry Nassar. Now, the letter was returned undelivered in the jail's mailroom, and it was discovered after Epstein died. Nassar's legal team denied awareness of any Epstein contact. And just to refresh your memory, Larry Nassar served as the team doctor for the Women Gymnasts USA team, but he was sentenced to 175 years in prison for 10 counts of sexual misconduct. Him and Epstein were two cheeks from the same arse. Now, there are many more names on this list, but I wanted to mention a few that others aren't talking about and give you the context. Did you figure it out, by the way? I told you guys in the beginning. What links all these people together? Did you figure it out? Well, all of them, every single one of them, whether they're left wing, right wing, white, black, they live in America or they live abroad, all of them vehemently support Israel. Do you get it now?